With the game coming up against the Cardinals, the Lions have been wanting to fix their red zone offense that's been giving them issues, and they just released a piece of news that should absolutely have fans excited, and we're going to talk about it, so stay tuned.
What are we? What makes us what we are and what we're going to be? It's grit. It's what we started with last year, guys. Doesn't matter if you have one ass cheek and three toes. I will beat your ass.
Can definitely compete with the big dogs.
10-5 end zone touchdown Detroit Lions.
You guys are unbelievable, man. I'm telling you.
We are driven by Detroit.
Hello, Lions fans, and welcome on back to yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. I'm your host, David T. Pike, and as always, we're diving on in. My friends, again, it is so awesome to be back here in New York, to be able to be inside of my own studio, to be able to feel comfortable, not having to worry about people potentially interrupting me and all the other things I had to deal with while I was in Virginia. So, just wanted to again say how grateful I am to be back here in New York. And I'm going to definitely talk more about that once we get to the game on Sunday, because I do plan on live streaming that, so I'll give you guys kind of like a breakdown of what actually happened there. But for this episode here, we're going to talk about how the Lions have given some awesome news regarding how they're going to fix their red zone issues, about what they've got in store to fix their red zone issues. So let's do a quick recap here. So far, for the 2024 season, the Lions have not exactly been very good as far as, working in the red zone. In fact, if we take a look at the statistical numbers, the Lions have gotten into the red zone 11 times this year so far. The problem is that they've only scored on 3 of those 11 red zone trips. That's through 2 games, folks. That is not good. In fact, if you do the actual math really quickly, that is a 27.3 conversion rate percent. That is horrible. In fact, it ranks 28th in the NFL right now. Just to kind of put this in perspective, last season, the Lions' red zone conversion percentage rate was at 66.6%. It was second best in the league, folks. So that right there ought to show just how vast of a difference we're talking about here between how the Lions were performing last year at the end of the season versus this year at the beginning of the season. Now, I understand. Obviously, we're talking about a huge difference in time. We're talking about how at the end of the season, the offense should be fully ready to go. It should have everything worked out, and that's why it was operating at such a great level. Whereas right now, they're trying to figure themselves out again, trying to get back into the rhythm of things. So there is a little bit of, I would say, a silver lining there. But one of the things that a lot of people have been asking is, why are the Lions having such issues? Why are they struggling? Because again, one of the things that our offense has been very good at doing has been scoring. But as I just stated, we've been getting into the red zone and we've not been scoring touchdowns. In fact, more often than not, we've had to have ourselves kick field goals through Jake Bates. And Jake Bates has been absolutely wonderful so far for us. So people have been wondering, what exactly is causing the Lions to struggle in the red zone? And so far, there have been a couple of things that have kind of come up. Some from the coaches and some from other people taking a look at the film. So far, what has been attributed as to why the Lions are struggling is that, as Coach Campbell said, there are some minor details that just need to be ironed out, need to be kind of, fixed a little bit. Because according to him, it's just these little itty-bitty details that once they get fixed, they're going to be fine. And it's just that simple. So for me, I know for a fact that this has merit because we've heard this in the past, and once the Lions have figured things out, they're right as rain. So that's part of the issue. The other part of the issue that we've been hearing, and what I have found out, is that I think the Lions, in a certain extent, they're overthinking things. And what I mean by that is they're kind of deviating away from what was their past successful formula. And let me explain what I mean by this. If we take a look so far at how the Lions have operated in the red zone through the first 2 games of this year, they have thrown 58% of the time when they've been operating on red zone plays this year versus only running the ball in the red zone 42% of the time. If you go back to 2023, it is literally the exact opposite. The offense in 2023 was throwing the ball in the red zone 42% of the time, and it was running the ball 58% of the time. So right there, you're seeing a literal reversal of what the Lions did in 2023. So to a certain extent, yes, the Lions do need to iron out a couple of things. They need to work out a couple of little tweaks here and there, which obviously I have no doubt that they're going to do. Ben Johnson, Jared Goff, they're all very good at that. But what they also need to do is say, hey, we need to lessen how much we're throwing in the red zone, and we need to make it a little bit more of an even kind of thing. Because while I agree the Lions need to run the ball more, I don't think you should have a 58-42 split. I think it should be more like 48-52, something like that. Make it to where the defense is more honest and more guessing as to what it is you're going to do. So that's just my personal opinion. Honestly, I really don't care so long as the Lions are scoring points. Now, having talked about all that, we all know that the Lions are getting ready to leave the comfort and safety and shelter of Ford Field. They're now going to travel across the country, and they're going to go play the Arizona Cardinals at their place. And so now they're going to, again, try to attempt to rectify their red zone woes against said Cardinals, which, in my honest opinion, provides the perfect opportunity for the Lions to get on track. I honestly believe that the Cardinals are an awesome team, a perfect team, if you will, for the Lions to figure out their red zone problems. And let me explain to you why. As I just stated, the Lions so far have not been very good in the red zone. They've only converted 27.3% of the time. Well, keep that number in mind, because the Cardinals, on the other hand, for their defensive conversion percentage in the red zone, they have allowed teams to score touchdowns on them in the red zone 55.6% of the time, in essence. That's tied for 21st worst. Pretty much out of 9 trips into the red zone, their defense has given up 5 scores. That's pretty damn good news for the Lions. And here's the reason why I say this. Let's first and foremost here think about how the Lions have gone against other teams so far. If you go against the Bucs, who the Lions just played last week, their conversion percent on defense in the red zone is ranked 40%. That's tied 15th best. So okay, the Bucs have a pretty damn good red zone defense. Now, the Rams, on the other hand, they are currently ranked 25th in the league with a 62.5%. So it's like, well, wait a minute here. Why did the Lions not do particularly well against the Rams? Well, we need to keep something in perspective here. When the Lions went up against the Rams in their game, it was a 50% conversion rate. That's a lot more of a manageable kind of deal for the defense. What made that number jump up so exponentially is when they got to play the Cardinals, because the Cardinals converted at 75% of the time they got into the red zone. So that 62.5% is an actual number, but unless you understand how that number got there, it's not going to tell you the full story. So what I'm trying to get at here is that the Lions, over the last 2 weeks, they've actually had to go up against decent red zone defenses. And since they're struggling trying to figure themselves out in the red zone, that's caused a couple of the other problems here. It's like, hey, they've had to go up against some really good red zone defenses while their red zone offense has been struggling a little bit. But now they're actually going to go up against a red zone defense that over the last 2 weeks playing against the Rams and the Bills, hey, there's a chance that these guys can really get their red zone offense all put together. So just from the statistical numbers, just from the analytics, we already have a very good piece of news as Lions fans to say, okay here. Just based off of the opponent we're getting set to face, the Lions should have a lot more success in scoring in the red zone this game. But obviously there's more to it than just that. The stats obviously show a great picture, and it shows that the Cardinals are the perfect team for the Lions to try and turn around their red zone woes, because the Cardinals have a relatively weak red zone defense. But there's further good news here. The other good news is that out of Allen Park, both Ben Johnson and Jared Goff have pledged, in essence, to respond and fix the red zone offense. Now, let me make sure I put this in the context of what it is. Did Jared Goff and Ben Johnson promise, vow, pledge to actually fix this? Did they actually use those words? No, they didn't. But if you take a look at the language in which they used, they are pretty much saying, hey, we're going to fix this. This is going to get resolved. So without actually saying promise, vow, pledge, whatever, that's in essence what they're saying. Because let's take a look at a quote here. Jared Goff was asked by reporters how much confidence he had in the offense's ability to respond due to the situation that they're in right now with not being able to score in the red zone. Goff said this. He said, a ton. That's kind of what we're built for, is responding. We've got another really good team we're playing again this week with Arizona and on the road. It'll be a tough environment and a tough game to win, but we'll be geared up. Okay, so pretty much what Goff is saying there is that we're going to be ready to go. We've got everything set up. We're ready to rock and roll. It's going to be a good team. It's going to be a good environment for us as far as, we're going to be on the road. We're going to have to, play with inside ourselves. We're going to have to rely on ourselves as our own players because we're not going to have the home crowd necessarily with us. But Goff is in essence saying there, hey, we're going to respond. That is what our team does, is when our backs are against the wall or when we run into some adversity, which every team does, we respond and we respond well. And again, there is evidence of this. I remember seeing a Twitter post just the other day. I think they said that, when Jared Goff has a game like he had against the Bucs last week where, he had 2 interceptions, the very next week he usually has no interceptions and he plays exponentially well, like 2+ touchdowns. So, okay, that already shows that the Lions have a great ability to respond. And then I also talked about this in a previous episode way back when I was back in Virginia. The Lions, if I recall correctly, they have not had back-to-back losses since Week 7 and Week 8 of 2022. So, okay here, you are talking about a team here that knows how to respond and respond very damn well. Hey, we might lose a game. We might have a bad situation or adversity come up against us, but we're able to respond. We're able to get right back on track. That is what the Lions do. And then there's also further evidence that supports this. Let's understand something here. The red zone offense struggles are not emblematic of the entire Lions offense struggling. Because let's take a look at the actual data here. The Lions have actually not had any issues moving the ball up and down the field. In fact, if anything, they're still one of the best offenses doing that. Because think about this. Take a look at the numbers. The Lions are currently 3rd in the NFL for total yards. They have 826. They are 3rd in the NFL for passing yards with 524. And they're tied 9th in the NFL with rushing yards for 302. So the Lions have no problem moving the ball up and down the field. The only issue they've been having is getting the ball into the red zone getting the ball into the end zone once they get it into the red zone. So, okay, the Lions offense is operating just fine except once we get to the 20-yard mark in. And that is where things typically get more difficult. But I have no doubt in my mind that the Lions are going to figure it out because we've seen them figure things out in the past when they've had to deal with adversity. And there's one other reason why I expect that the Lions are going to do well in this game against the Cardinals. If there's one thing I know for a fact, based off of what I have seen, the Cardinals love to blitz. They are a heavy blitz team. Well, I can tell you this right now. Jared Goff is one of the best quarterbacks when he's being blitzed. I'm not talking about pressure, I'm talking about blitzing. When Goff is blitzed, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL in being able to respond to blitz packages. So, okay. We have a team that's weak in the red zone defense. We have a team that likes to blitz. Jared Goff is good at taking advantage of blitzing defenses. The Lions offense is still operating very well between the 20 marks of each end zone. Okay, so that to me tells me that if the Lions can get their red zone offense, get their poop in a group, which I fully expect they're going to do because that's what we do, we respond, I expect that the Lions will be able to move the ball, and I expect the Lions are going to be able to score. And finally, I expect that the Lions are going to get their offense in total back on track, red zone offense in total with everything, and that will help Lions fans simmer down. Because again, I know this for a fact. Lions fans have been concerned as to why the Lions have not been able to score so far. But I'm telling you this right now. Every single year, you have to work out kinks. It's not just like, hey, you know what? We're instantly going to pick it up right where we were, 4 or 5 months ago when the season ended. It takes time to kind of get this stuff back into motion, especially when, one, you're dealing with a new starting wide receiver in Jameson Williams. Plus, on top of that, hey, like I just said, the Lions haven't done this for like 4 or 5 months since they last played against the 49ers. It's going to take them a little bit of time to figure it out. But once they do, again, I have no doubt they'll be right as rain. But having said that, I just wanted to put this information out there because, again, I know a lot of Lions fans are concerned about the red zone, and I'm trying to tell them all I think we're going to be fine. But having said that, I'm going to end the episode and say thank you all for watching another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. If you like what you saw, by all means, I highly encourage y'all to watch the next episode. Also encourage y'all to please make sure you do one of these three things. Like, comment, and subscribe. If by chance you subscribed in the past and you forgot to do so at the time, I also want to highly encourage y'all, please, make sure you hit that bell notification icon at the bottom as well, so that way you guys never miss any more content that I push out. And I also want to encourage y'all to share the content with your Lions friends and family members. Share here on YouTube, share it on Twitter, share it on Facebook, share it anywhere and everywhere you can. The more we can share it, the greater the channel can grow and spread, and we're able to bring in, more new content viewers, so that way the channel can continue to grow. And with that being said, to everybody, whether you've been a long-time viewer or a first-time viewer, I hope y'all enjoyed the content. And with that being said, I also hope that everybody has something in their life that makes them happy, makes them smile. God bless, my friends, and until the next time we meet, I'll see you all in the next episode.